Hi, this is Ice 3. Currently, it is January the 10th, 2025. 2026. My days are getting mixed up. My years are getting mixed up too. These days just run into each other. I do not care about the whatever this football game is or whatever this sports event that just happened on, I guess, yesterday or the day before that. Nor do I care about the Grammys. Nor do I care about the TPUSA situation. It was a Super Bowl. Like I don't keep up with this stuff. Um, So around the date, I guess, of the Super Bowl, if that's what the name of the sports event was, I was trying to find something to do. I was bored, and to say I don't watch football, I don't watch none of these celebrity events, whatever. I do know that there was a lot of talk about the Bad Bunny situation and I guess Kid Rock coming to TPUSA. I don't care. Anyway, so the point of this video. In this video, I think I'm going to talk about my Saturn return and basically my Saturn square as well. And so these are huge events that happen inside of a person's life. I think when you turn age 22, that's when you have a Saturn square in your life, and that just means it's a very significant period of your life where something bad happens that forces you to get ready for age 27. And at age 27, that's your Saturn, or around age 27, so 27, 28, 29, or 30, that's when you have your Saturn return. And that's when your transiting Saturn inside of the sky, it transits and it conjoins your natal Saturn in your chart, your natal chart. So, in my experience, the Saturn square, and that's at age 22, that's when you have it's probably the roughest event in regards to ooh, let me pause a second. Okay, I don't know where I stopped at. Got interrupted, but pretty much I think I was talking about transit Saturn squaring a person's natal Saturn. That's around the age 22. Now, that is the most difficult of Saturn's transits to a person's natal chart or personal chart. Now, what triggered me to create this video is, well, I was bored. I guess on the 9th of or the 8th of February, as the Super Bowl was going on, because I don't watch the Super Bowl, and everybody was talking about the drama that was going on with Bad Bunny and Trump, whatever. Anyway, so I was just going through YouTube Reels or YouTube Shorts or whatever, and I saw this. It's not a makeup tutorial. It was some video about this man. He was putting extensions inside of this girl's hair, and I recognized her because he didn't really show a face. I recognized her from the back because, well, she had huge tatas, or whatever you want to call it, and she had tattoos. And I saw that it was a girl called Mary Magdalene. She's an influencer who she's gone through some of the surgeries or whatever that you could say that anyway, she's been through a lot of cosmetic surgeries. She had a lot of them. And so her boobs are like huge, and she has her lips are huge as well. And some people might look at that and laugh. I'm like, no, I don't laugh at it. I'm just like, if you see her before pictures, I'm like, this girl was beautiful before she started having the cosmetic surgeries done. But I think in her interviews or whatever, and keep in mind, she began having these surgeries around age 21 or 22, and that's around the time that your Saturn transit Saturn makes a square to a person's natal Saturn in their chart. Well, I'm sitting here bored and really depressed as well. And honestly, I think a month or two ago, I think last month, I had this weird thought. Maybe it was a dream or something like that. And I thought of this girl, Mary Magdalene, the influencer. I said, man, if I ever got rich, I would want to go. I would want to go see this girl and just give her a hug and tell her that I don't know I don't care what you've been through or what you're trying to prove, but I just want to give you a hug and say that I see you. Because anyway. So I'm looking at this YouTube Shorts reel, and I'm like, I wonder whatever. No, I didn't. I went to the comments, and then there's a comment that said that she's died, and I'm like, she died? What? And so lo and behold, I do little bit more research, and she has died. She died on December the 9th, 2025. Let me pause a second to make sure it's right. Okay, so Mary Magdalene, um, what is her real name? Jesus. I guess her real name is Denise Ivane Jarvis Gungora. Hopefully I didn't butcher it, but I guess she goes by the name Mary Magdalene. She was born on June 7th, 1992, and she died on December 9th, 2025. And so for me to have this feeling that I'm like, I wish I could, if I ever got rich, I want to hug her and just tell her that I see her. And to come to find out that she's passed away. She died at age 33, and she began having these cosmetic surgeries at age 21, I believe. And I only found out about her when I was I guess I was watching um I guess there's this other influencer or podcaster. His name is Adam22, and I think his podcast is called No Jumper. And so I saw her, and I saw her with these huge tatas, and I'm like, wow. And then she just stands out because of all the cosmetic surgeries. And so I'm like, okay, what's going on with this? And so her personality, it was beautiful. It really was. And I'm just like, and before the surgeries, she was stunning. And so, and after the surgery, she's still beautiful in a way, but it's like she looked beautiful without the surgeries. So, anyway, she's done several other interviews, and like in these interviews, I guess she's depressed, and but I think she had a ton of Instagram followers. She's had a lot of yeah, I've seen like her. You, how do I say this? You can look at a person's You pause a second. Okay, so I said it wrong. You can't just look at somebody's lifestyle and basically see everything, because you can see the glamour, you can see the surgeries, you can see the nice house and stuff like that, but you don't really know what's really going on behind the camera. Like my situation, I might, who knows, I might look good. My life situation is hell. But anyway, but who knows? Somebody might think that, oh, he looks great. He's talking all proper and stuff. No. Anyway, so you don't really know what somebody's going through. And I'm looking at her at these interviews, and she's crying inside these interviews, and I'm like, anyway, what's my point? So what led me to this video now, and it's been like 8 minutes. I'm so sorry, but this is actually going to call this the 8 minute prelude or preview. Anyway, so what led me to make this video right here is that upon her committing suicide, and she committed suicide by, let me pause a second to get the exact. Okay, so apparently she allegedly, she fell from the ninth floor of a high-rise apartment in Thailand. I will try to say the city in the. Anyway, so the high-rise apartment was in Patong, Phuket, Thailand. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. She was age 33. And so she made a lot of cryptic posts before she died, referencing the Truman Show. Let me pause a second. Okay, so apparently she posted the closing scene of a movie called The Truman Show, and it was when I think the character, his name is Truman Burbank, who was played by Jim Carrey, and he takes a bow and he says, "And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night." And this is before I guess Truman Burbank, he steps to this black room outside of this. This is complicated. Let me just. I've never seen a Truman Show, and I just recently watched it because of this situation. And so let me pause a second. Okay, let me try to say this right. So I think the synopsis of this movie, or the point of this movie, is that the character Truman Burbank, he's inside of this simulation in regards to a man. He's turned this man Truman's life into a TV show. And so from childbirth all the way up to his current life, which is I believe age 29, because when the movie starts, it says day 10,909, and at that time, Truman Burbank would have been the age of 29. And keep in mind, that's a Saturn return. That's when transit Saturn will conjoin a person's natal Saturn at that age. And so, and everything that was involved inside this movie, it seems like it was dealing with situations that were out of Truman Burbank's control. That kept him locked in this situation, or stuck inside a situation. That's what Saturn does. It restricts you. And so that's why I was like, anyway, it's a lot of astrology that you can take to be applied to this movie. Anyway, there's a lot of scenes that astrology can be taken to. Anyway, they can be applied to this movie. And then for Mary Magdalene, the influencer, to have posted a reference to this movie right before she passed away, I'm like, whoa. I'm not gonna talk too much more about that movie, because maybe somebody else wants to watch it, and I I suck at explaining stuff in regards to just movies and stuff. I don't watch movies. This movie, I think it probably came out in what year? Let me pause for a second. I guess I'll just read this. So The Truman Show came out in 1908. It is a film directed by Peter Weir, starring Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank, a man who unknowingly lives his entire life as the subject of a 24/7 reality television show broadcast to the world. As strange occurrences mount, Truman begins to suspect that his reality is fake, leading him to question his world and attempt to escape the massive artificial set run by his creator, Christoph, or Ed Harris. The film is known for its unique premise, strong performances, and exploration of philosophical themes about reality, media, and free will. Anyway, so let me see the exact date that this movie came out. Let me pause for a second. So the exact date this movie was released was on June the 1st, 1998 in Los Angeles, and June 5th, 1998 for the entirety of the United States. Anyway, my point. Let me pause for a second because I forgot my point. So much stuff is going on. Okay, so a Saturn return happens every roughly 27.5 to 28 to 28.5 years. And so by the age of 29, you're feeling the full effects of a Saturn return. I think that was my point. And inside of the movie, I think it starts out on day, in regards to Truman Burbank, right? It starts out at day 10,909, which will be 29 years for him, or it's his character. So let's see here. I'm trying to see what my point is. Let me pause. Okay, so going back to Mary Magdalene and her death, apparently on Instagram, she changed her name, her username, to Mary Magdalene Died before she apparently fell to her death. And this is, I believe, around the same time she posted the closing of the movie scene of the Truman Show. And again, she was age 33, and this is still around the time of her Saturn return. I believe in Vedic astrology, they say that the effects or the feelings of your Saturn returns don't end or does not reside until age 35, or until after age 35 or 36. And so I guess you feel you feel the effects of Saturn from age 27 all the way to age 35 to 36. Let me pause another second. It's a lot of information, and yeah. Now there's a lot I can say in regards to the life of of Mary Magdalene, but I'm just saying I'm not gonna talk about her. I want to talk about myself in regards to my Saturn return, my Saturn square, and my Saturn return. I mean, if you want to look into Mary Magdalene, the influencer, I mean, you can just Google her. I she was a she seemed to be a sweet person. Yeah. Anyway, so around the time that I turned age 22, I was a workaholic. I think from age 16 up until age 29, right? Well, no, from age 16 to age 27. I was a workaholic. I would work nonstop. As a matter of fact, I work for me was just fun in regards to just being away from home. It was a pleasure to just to work and like just not be stuck at home because I didn't like to keep too many people around me. And so when you don't have anybody around you, it's like I'm not saying you're gonna be bored, but it's like you see other people doing things stuff like that, and it's like you don't really want to do what they're doing because that's not of your interest. And so I'm just like, well, I'm bored. Let me just go to work. Okay, I'm working money. I make money. Okay, well, you start buying stuff for yourself and trinkets and stuff like that. And I value trinkets more than people because every time I try to set up and like get close to a person or bring a person to my circle, they would fuck me over or burn me. So I'm like, whatever. I don't. I feel better and happier by myself. So that was me from age 16 to 27. Now, my Saturn square, age 22 hit. So I think around and for age 22 for me was I think around 2012. Yeah, that was my grandfather that died. But okay, so around 2010, my grandfather, I was going to college at the time. I was going to college and I think I was working two jobs. I was working at a truck stop and I was working at a library and I was also going to school at the same time. And then so my grandfather he got sick around 2010, and so I had to also help take care of him as well. And so that's when a whole bunch of family drama started to happen in regards to my other side of the family, popping up and trying to do crazy stuff, or his parent girlfriend or whatever, she was popping up and creating problems as well, report allegedly. So there's a whole bunch of family drama that was going on, and so then come to find out, there was some more drama that was going on behind the scenes where my grandfather apparently had a secret life. Not gonna get into that, not on the internet. So that blew things to another proportion. And then all the while I was having problems at work where some coworkers or whatever they were trying to get me fired because of I think Obamacare. I think that was around the time that Obama was inside of office, right? 2000 between 2008 and 2010. Anyway, and then plus it's the financial crisis too, 2008. So this is 2010. So so the boss for the truck stop, he began cutting hours. And being that I was going to school or whatever, I guess he may have allegedly assumed that he didn't really need me because I can only be there at certain periods of time of the day. Anyway, so we ended up getting a new manager. The new manager was allegedly trying to put her daughter inside of my spot, which she eventually did. And I ended up getting fired. But this is after a slew of a whole bunch of other situations, family drama, going to court and back, going to the hospital and back. My grandfather losing his mind, losing his mental capacity due to meningitis, and then also his loss of hearing as well. And so in the end, I think February 2012 when I was age 22, um the manager of the truck stop that I worked at uh wrote me up three times within a week. And then also around the same time, my grandfather passed away. during the same week. And so, and the manager wrote me up for pretty much no reason at all. Just, oh, you were mopping the side of a place when there was a customer side of the building, even though they cut my hours to the point where I didn't have a choice for the building to be cleaned or whatever. I had to mop. Anyway, if I didn't mop, they would decide I'd mop the floor. And then also, apparently one of the coworkers, one of my coworkers, apparently told her that I was throwing dishes. And I'm like, what? Or staying dishes on the counter. And I'm like, no, you cut my hours to the point where I can't even. When I get to the truck stop restaurant, they put dirty dishes inside of carts, and so by the time I get there, there's only 2 carts. So I know this is anyway. By the time I get there, the 2 carts are full of dishes. So I have to, and see, I have a counter where I can put dishes on a counter and then empty the trays so that I can put them back side of the cart, and so there'll be a free cart to have dishes, to have the new dirty dishes put inside of the cart. If that makes any sense. So apparently, one of my coworkers told her that I was throwing dishes, and I'm like, no, I just put them on the counter. Anyway, so. And then there's another. She woke me up another time because I told her I had to go to my grandfather's funeral, and so I was fired one day before my grandfather's funeral. And so no, the date. So no. Let's how does this go? No, okay. So a day before my grandfather's funeral, I got a phone call from the manager who was trying to allegedly put her daughter inside in my spot. And so in regards to the schedule, because they being that I went to school, they were being that I went to school, I could have came to work earlier, but they tried to cut my hours to the point where I didn't have a choice but to quit. And so they cut my hours to nothing. And then so pretty much when they fired me or whatever, they put her on the schedule, and apparently they gave her basically more hours than they would have gave me. The entire point was for them to try to cut my hours to the point where I couldn't survive with the amount of hours that they were going to give me. So anyway, so I guess my point was that they were trying to. It's been 23 minutes. Oh my god! But so on the third write up, she wrote me up a third time because I told her I was gonna be at work on my grandfather's during the day of my grandfather's funeral. So anyway, I went to my grandfather's funeral. There was an event there too, a bad event there, and then because of my grandfather's I guess apparently double life or whatever situation that was going on. I had another relative. A situation happened where I ended up having to move a little bit, or get shuffled around in regards to the property or whatever. So basically my whole life got just mixed up and messed up. So anyway, that was 2012, and that was also around the same time that transit Neptune, I think, entered Pisces. So that was my Saturn square. A lot more stuff happened, but I'm trying to squeeze all this within like an hour. So let's see here. So basically, my whole life got shuffled up. And keep in mind, my grandfather was he was the person who took care of the property basically. And he was a very, very prominent figure in everybody's life in regards to just finances and basic security. So anyway, and so he died February 2012, and then around the same time I got fired from my job around the same time. Oh no, I'm not done. So much that was happening, it's like you forget. So as I was moving around, being moved around and shuffled around on the property or whatever, so I had an idea. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to find somebody to be with or whatever. I mean, basically, I think another relative they were trying to get. Let me pause a second. Okay, so another relative they was trying to get with this other person or whatever, and they was like, you need to get with somebody, you need to get into a relationship and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to get into a relationship or whatever. I'm I think it was coming up on spring/summer, and I was like, you know what? Why not? I think I was out of school at the time in regards to college, and so a person just came out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, maybe God sent me this person. Got with this person. They basically, in the end, it was a disaster. And so that situation messed up my life for a good 4 years in regards to just anyway, it was a situation. And so however, because of that situation, I didn't see it until after trying those mushrooms all the way back in what 2024 20 yeah ooh. Anyway, so in 2024 I bought a hemp vape and some mushrooms because I was so angry and depressed in regards to just my life situation. And so um and my finances. And so I was like, how what can I do? And see, at the time I was watching Sean Ryan, the Sean Ryan show, and he was saying how psychedelics could help people with depression, chronic depression, and PTSD or whatever. And so I was still upset about this relationship situation that happened all the way back in 2012. Anyway, so but when I took those mushrooms, okay, um, you, I came to the realization that pretty much and the hemp vape or the marijuana vape or whatever, I came to the realization that everything happens for a reason. Um, everything happens for a reason. And so, see, all the way back, I didn't graduate college until I think 2013. So, this relationship situation happened in 2012. And so, and like I said, it messed my life up for a good 3 to 4 years. And that's well, 2.5 years to be exact. And so, that's a Saturn cycle. That's when Saturn, I think, Saturn goes into different signs. Anyway, so my point. When I took those mushrooms back, when I took those mushrooms all the way back into 2024, and that's really recently, um, I saw that because I went down. I write down all life events that happened inside my life that are just so significant, and so I think that what happened. I guess I student debt. That's the point. Basically, there were a lot of people that was complaining about student debt, and I went to college on a Pell Grant, so I didn't have to pay. I didn't take out no loans or anything like that, and I just ended up getting my associate's degree. But what I saw was that what I saw when I took those mushrooms and using that vape, until I was drinking a little bit too. But anyway, I'm speaking of drinking. Let me pause a second. Okay, so what I saw was that pretty much what how do they say that a door that closes is a blessing or something like that. What is and also what is meant for you is meant for you, and what is not is not. And so that situationship. I don't not call it a relationship. That situationship, um, it blocked me from going to a college that would have required for me to take out student loan debts or student loans. And so that was a blessing in disguise. But at the time, I was so much bad stuff was happening that I just did not recognize it. I was angry. I was sick at one point for a long point. I depressed. I gave up on God. As I said pretty much it was a point in time where I was just sick, and I was like I said pretty much I did everything the right way. I did how you say this? Let me pause for a second. So I did everything right. And then I was like, I was laying inside the bed and I was sick. I was so scared to go to sleep that I wouldn't wake back up. And so I said, even I was looking at the story of Medusa all the way back in 2012, 2013. I said, even God can turn you. Not knowing that pretty much it was a blessing in disguise. There's also a story in regards to Medusa that pretty much Athena, she turned her into this hideous monster because so that these men who were just looking at her and just like wanting to be with her or whatever, they wouldn't anymore. And if she looked at them, they would be turned to stone. But it stopped that whole entire it 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 deaded that situation in regards to her possibly being raped by another man, because I think she was raped by Poseidon, Jupiter, whatever. I forgot the actual god's name that actually ended up raping Medusa. Anyway, but so at the time I was like, I think I get the story of Medusa now, not knowing that there was a blessing in disguise, so that I wouldn't end up stuck inside a student debt for the rest of my life. That probably sounds crazy and convoluted, or it probably just sounds crazy. Anyway, so that was my Saturn return. Not Saturn. That was my Saturn square at age 22 and 23. And what Saturn squares do is they prepare you for your Saturn return. So, but I would say that my Saturn square at age 22 was the worst. Was worse than age 27, 28, and up until now still. But anyway, because I'm 35 right now. Anyway, so I ended up getting sick because of that relationship. But I'm better now. It took me two and a half years to get whatever figured out. Apparently the doctor said that it wasn't some kind of a sexual situation. They said they can figure it out. So I went through multiple antibiotics or whatever, and then finally something. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm just allergic to people. So anyway, that's why I don't feel lonely when I'm alone, because it's like when you've been put inside a situation where you feel like you've been left for dead, and even when you try to get back to this person or whatever, and they still just don't care or whatever. It's like when you feel like you've been left for dead and you had to claw yourself out of your grave, you don't ever want to get back to that. I pray to God that I would. I'm not gonna say I would never. I pray to God that I would never feel alone ever again. Because before age 22, I did feel kind of like, well, I wish that I could have like this person around me and all this stuff, whatever. It's like after that situation, I'm like, I feel happy to be by myself. It'll be nice, nice to honestly no. You get sick of people. You look at people with in these relationships, situationships, and just partnerships, and people that just have to be together in this entanglement or whatever. And I'm like, no. Let me pause a second. So I mean, think about it. During COVID-19, people had to isolate themselves from other people, and so there's some people that they had stay at home jobs, and so they didn't have to be around people for a long time. The people that they just tolerated, and now they had to go back to those jobs. It's like, I never knew how much I hated your. I mean, I think there was one anyway. The situation was, I think, with some man, he anyway pew-pewed up a place or whatever. Anyway, so that's the feeling that you get. I think Elon Musk, he even made a post. He said the thing about learning, getting used to being alone, is that it becomes comfortable. It's like you people that mess up it's peaceful, and you don't want nobody to come into that and mess it up. And so imagine having to go back to hell. Anyway, so that's how I see a relationship or a situationship. A person will have to be I don't. It would take a very, 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 very crazy person for me to be, for me to want them to be inside of my space. You know, sex is one thing, but spiritually, spiritually, emotionally, um, mentally, that's a hard, it's a hard, yeah, catch. And bitch, I'm crazy too, so I'm like, yeah. So anyway, I guess when we, what do you call it, rambling. So yeah, I don't want nobody into my space anymore in regards to that. I don't even want a friends with benefits situation because it's like yeah there's stuff out there that you can catch and you there's some things I think that they said that there's some diseases that you can catch that some doctors they haven't even found they don't even know what it is. And so I mean there's like they have like something called super STI or whatever from places where people just go and just have casual um entanglements with people, and like these people are just having multiple partners. So it's like you don't, and then plus people lie. So it's like I don't have time for that. I have I like my peace. Anyway, moving on because I forgot my entire point. So I think I'll move on from that to my Saturn return. So my Saturn return was age 27, right? Well, it was actually age 29, right? No, it was 2020 because I remember the exact day. Whew. But I'm not gonna tell. I'm not gonna say everything. But let me pause a second. Okay. So I would start off at age 27 on my birthday. Well, no. Let me go back a little bit. My birthday is April 26th, 1990. Uh, so on March the right March. No. It was April. On April 10th or 11th, 2017, I was let go from my job at Verizon because apparently I didn't meet my quota. And in my opinion, my boss at the time, who I guess the company, which is I think it's not corporate Verizon, it's retail Verizon. So they're two different entities. But anyway, and there's so many retail Verizons. But anyway, so apparently my boss at the time, he was a manager, and they also allowed him to also be a salesperson as well. So it was like a conflict of interest. So he basically started he took a couple of my sales, and so because of that, I almost did not meet my quota at one point for one month. But luckily somehow I was able to get just I was short by one we call them boxes, but one sale, and like somehow I was able to get it and basically my quota. But I was like, you still want one more of my sales? I might have to work. I might hurt you. Look, see what I said. Look, see what I said to him online. So, but things get vicious when you're inside of sales. So anyway, so I think he stole my sale all the way back in March, but I think I was terminated on around April 11th, 2017. So then I'm not gonna say it online. I can't say it online. I have to protect myself. But so anyway, so I was fired. When I get home or whatever, not get home. I'm at home. I didn't want to tell my friend that I was fired, but I was like, you know what? Let me call her and see what's going on with her. Kind of find out she's in the psych ward, and I'm like, what? Apparently, she tried to commit suicide, and so I'm just like, what? So I just get fired. Keep in mind, you think about this all the way back in all the way back in 2012. My grandfather, right before I was fired, my grandfather My grandfather died. So it's like a shock to the system. You get fired, and then somebody dies, or somebody dies, and you get fired. Like, so it was like a repeat of what happened all the way back in 2012, and it happened in 2017 regarding a Saturn square and a Saturn return, or Saturn transit Saturn conjoining my natal Saturn. A lot of information, a lot of stuff is happening. And I'm not even telling everything. I'm paraphrasing because so much stuff happened, and there's so much stuff I can't say online, so that I won't. Anyway, let me pause a second. Okay, so I found out she's inside a psych ward, and so anyway, moving forward. So I tried to pick her up from the hospital on April 25th, 2017. And for some reason, because my birthday was next, my birthday's on April 26th. April 26th. And so and she was scheduled to be released on April 25th. But for some reason, they said that, oh, the paperwork's mixed up, so we can't release her right now. So on my birthday, the next day, April 26th, and see, I wasn't into astrology as much as I am now, but on April 26th, 2017, there was a new moon that conjoined my sun on that exact day. The conjunction was exact. And so on that's when I was able to pick up my friend from the psych ward. So keep in mind I was fired on April the 11th or the 15th, I forgot now. So on April 26th, I'm driving her home, and I applied for unemployment. I'm driving her home, and so I get a phone call from the unemployment people. And so I'm on the phone driving her home, trying to talk to the unemployment people, and she just looked at me. She just looked at me like, so much stuff has happened. It's like I forgot. I'm missing some stuff, but so she just sort of looked at me like, this is interesting. It says April 26th, my birthday. So I had to pick up from the psych ward, and I had to take the phone call from unemployment officer. Well, and I'm driving down the road with the phone in one hand, and her side is the passenger side. So we get to her house, and she's like, "Do you think you're gonna get your unemployment?" I said, "I better," because if I don't, well, I better. Look, see what I said on the internet. Because see, the manager, I told you he was a manager, and he was also a sales agent. So it's like he was still my sales. I leave it at that. And you know, I told you when I in my what video was that? I forgot, but when I go off, I go off. Like flip the table and like burn everything down. Like I'm not gonna say what else happened in regards to that situation, but anyway, so May 2nd hits, I get my unemployment. And so, well, I saw that the processing of my unemployment was complete, and so I knew I was getting my unemployment. So she ends up committing suicide with a shotgun on May the 5th, 2017. And so this is as she called me right before she did it. And she was saying that like tomorrow or the next day or whatever, sometime I want to go to this Mexican restaurant or whatever. And I was like, okay, you know what? We can go. So much stuff has happened, but yeah, we can go. And so that was May the 5th, right? 2017. I called her the next day, and I texted her, and I was like, because she texts back usually immediately, and she didn't text me back, and so I called her. She didn't pick up the phone. This woman stays on her phone. She don't miss a phone call nor a text message. And so I'm like, okay. So I wait like an hour. She doesn't call me back and text me back. So I'm like, okay. I text her saying, hey, I'm coming over. I get there, the door is unlocked, and that's lo and behold, I find her dead. And so I ran at the house, dropped the key, had to call on the cops or whatever. Didn't touch anything. I watched some of the Case Closed episodes or Detective Conan episodes. That it's like about somewhat. I'm not gonna say I know everything about crime scenes, but you know a little what to do in regards to a situation like that. So the cops get there. They I didn't. They get there, and so they sit they sit about like 6 miles away from the house, from her house. And I'm like, why aren't you going to check up on her and trying to try? And there was like we had to send either an expert or we had to send a sheriff to investigate first before we go and get the person or whatever, the body or whatever. And so I was like, hurry up and please just go go check up on her or whatever. And they said we had to wait for the I guess sheriff, somebody to get there first. And so I guess I drive off because I'm so excited, full of like do something. And so this is my birthday, right? No, this is days after my birthday, after my 27th birthday. My 27th birthday was on April 26th. The suicide, I get my unemployment on May the 2nd, 2017. And she committed suicide on May the 5th, 2017. And I find her body on May the 6th, 2017. Okay, so let's see here. So I drive off. I come back. They're still at 6 miles away from the house. They said that the sheriff or whatever is there, the investigator's there or whatever. So I drive and I'm like, so I get there, and so I drive back to the house and I get there. I open the door, and so the sheriff or I don't know, she pulls out a gun, and so I guess she sees I do this. I guess instinctively, I don't know why I did it at that point, because I think at one point I did have my Glock on me at one point. My Glock, at the time I had a Glock 26. But for some reason at this point in time I left inside of the car, and so she pulled a gun on me, and I guess she saw that my hands were empty, and so she jumped behind the wall, and I said, "It's me, it's me, it's me, it's me. I'm the one who called." And so she was like, then she reholstered her gun, and she was like, "Okay." So she said, "Sir, this is a crime scene, so you have to get out of the house." And so I leave out the house, and so, ooh, huh, okay. Let me pause a second. Huh, it's been years, but anyway, so I get inside of my car. Pause a second. Okay. Um, so I get back inside of my car. I gotta finish this. And so, next you know let me pause. Okay. So I get back inside of my car, and finally the the ambulance and the fire truck, they pull up, and so next you know I think they go inside the house, and they pull out inside of this black bag or whatever, and I'm still like in, I guess, shock. And this because I mean, I looked when I saw the body. I guess like everything went white. So I didn't really see. I just saw. I look at her body. I looked at the wall, and so I saw blood on the wall, and I saw a shotgun on the bed, and I don't even remember what she looked like. I just saw white. It's like I couldn't see any. I mean, I couldn't see the gruesome um situation. Maybe I did, but maybe I just don't remember. Maybe my mind blocked it out because it was so. Anyway, and I mean, I should be able to take some stuff like that. But anyway, I've seen so much. But anyway, so I ran to the police officer and I was like, is what's going on? Is she okay? And she's like, no, she's dead. And I was like, no, no. Let me pause a second. But so I was like, no, no. We was just talking last night, and I mean, um, no. And so let me pause. Okay, but I was like, no, no. I was just talking to her last night, and like pretty much that no. And so went to my car, bawled my eyes out or whatever. Just that there was a trigger, like pretty much just remember myself inside of the car, just crying my eyes out, and I'm like, yeah, I never cried that hard in my entire life. I was crying so hard that pretty much the one of the men from the ambulance they came over and it was like, so it's fine, I forgot what he said, and I was like just leave me alone. And so that was that. And then also I had to deal with um telling the her friends. I think she left let me pause a second. But I think she ended up leaving her estate and a lot of other stuff inside it. She left her estate to some friend her high school friends, but apparently it came out that some other stuff was tied up to that. So it's like, well, anyway, there wasn't really that much to get from that situation. So that was also kind of a blessing in disguise. For me not to have gotten anything in regards to her um access in a situation like that, or end up getting tied inside that situation. Anyway, so not only did that happen, I was on unemployment, and so that's one thing. But I had to try to find a job, and every time I tried to get a job, something would block me. Well, every time I tried to get a stable job, something would block me. And keep in mind, I have K2 inside of the 10th house, so I probably had a steady career from age 22 through 27, but all all that stuff just went to shit when on the exact date I turned 27. Well, the month of my birthday. Even before that, a year before my a year. So this event happened on April the well she committed suicide on May the 5th, 2017. But a year before the exact day on May the 5th, 2016. I had an issue with the manager at that Verizon store that I worked at or whatever, and he was trying to get me fired, or in my opinion, there we go. And so I was written up 3 times in a row within I think within like 2 or 3 months, and on the third time he wrote me up, I think it was on May the 5th, 2016, and on this day there was a new moon, right? That was exactly conjunct my natal Mercury. No, 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 no. It was exactly opposite my natal Pluto. And my natal Pluto is very, very close to my natal Mercury. Anyway, so in the end, that boss who tried to get me fired, he ended up getting, I believe, demoted, and eventually he ended up quitting. And so I ended up keeping my job, even though I was written up three times inside of a row. And weirdly enough, around the time, pause a second. Okay, I'm just remembering pretty much just bawling my eyes out inside of that car, and I had my Glock 26 sitting right beside me, and anything could have happened, but still. So all the way back on May the 5th or 6th, 2016, a year before my actual before my friend's suicide, um in 2017, there's a new moon that opposed my natal Pluto and it conjoined my natal Mercury. And so the boss at the time, he ended up getting demoted, and he eventually left, I believe. But let's see here. The weird thing that happened around that time was that during the period of time he tried to get me fired, or he in my opinion tried to get me fired, my stats doubled. Everyone's stats in the building in regards to my sales and other stats that they keep up with, or the stats that they track. And so you could add everyone's stats in that building together, and it would be less than mine still. And so that's probably why that boss ended up getting demoted instead of me. And even the district manager, he ended up getting he ended up transferring. So it was just weird. And then an exact year later, that's when my friend committed suicide. Keep in mind, I did not do astrology or any kind of stuff like that until 2018. Now I did look at like some relationship astrology, but not to the point of like trying to predict. My entire point of trying to learn astrology was to pretty much try to beat the lottery, because my life went straight to shit. I couldn't keep a job. I couldn't. The only thing that was stable for me was unemployment. I would try to get a job, and like people would just try to fire me for no reason at all. So anyway, or I would get into arguments, or a situation would come up where if I didn't leave, somebody was gonna get hurt. So anyway, now was not. So my actual Saturn return happened on February 4th, 2020. And this is the last day that I could keep a job in regards to temporary jobs or whatever. But anyway, that's too much information in regards to my situation. So I ended up getting unemployment from due to the COVID-19 situation, because things just went straight to shit, to hell. And it's like every time I tried to get a normal job, nothing would work. Nothing. I would try to apply for a job. Okay, so it's too much information. And they put it like this: when I couldn't get unemployment anymore, and I tried to get a job, and tried to go to my job on the first day, my car broke down. My car worked the entirety of COVID-19, but as soon as I try to get a job, my car breaks down. And when I try to get it repaired, it'll break. Something else will break. Okay, so I'm like, okay, well, you know what? This car can probably drive me from a mile and back daily until I get some extra money. So I'm like, okay, I want to try to do that. And so as soon as I try to pick up the phone, because I said I was going to do it the next day, apply for a job inside of my local area. As soon as I pick up the phone and try to call somebody who I know would just be like, okay, yeah, come on in, my whole body started shaking, and pretty much I couldn't breathe. I ended up getting COVID-19. The exact as soon as I picked up my phone. And I mean, this wasn't like a regular cough. This was like I didn't get COVID-19 throughout the entirety of COVID-19. And as soon as I try to get this job, I get COVID-19. Other situations happen too, but those are the most memorable. I haven't written down on the phone I'm recording on, but so I'm like, what is? So I'm like, keep in mind, I didn't say this before, but all the way back before I ended up getting unemployment, in I believe 2020, I bought a lottery ticket. I was using astrology to try to beat the lottery. And so there was this exact date. That's how I was like, that I knew that something was supposed to happen in regards to me running into some kind of money. And so I had bought a lottery ticket, and I wanted to enter on. I bought a multi-draw lottery ticket, and I was like, it's going to end on this day, and on this day I should run into a lot of money or something should happen. And so, let me pause a second. Now keep in mind, I saw the transits, I saw the progressions, I saw other techniques or whatever, in regards to this astrology, and I was like, on this exact day, I should run into some kind of money, sometime in 2020. I don't say the exact date, but still. And so on this date, and around this date, as a matter of fact, the lottery played, and I was so sure that I was going to win, and I lost, and so I was so depressed. I was like, I learned all this astrology for nothing. And see, I didn't have unemployment at the time. I was getting by the grace of God and maybe my income tax check or whatever. And this is all the way anyway. And I'm trying to stretch the money to get to this exact date. So the date arrives and nothing happens. And I'm just depressed, angry. So something said around this date, because I was walking back and forth. What I usually do when I'm really really mad, or when I'm trying to meditate and concentrate at that time, would be, and this is before the hemp vape and the mushrooms or whatever, that situation that I did in all the back in 2024 December. I walk back and forth, and I would be trying, and so I got mad. I was like, God, universe, I did everything right. Why am I sitting here broke? Every time I try to get a job, I get blocked. Every time I try to set up and find a way to make some money, I get blocked. Anyway, something said, look at your bank account. And I'm like, what? Something said, look at your bank account. I don't know what or how, but something said, look at your bank account. Keep in mind, I hadn't had any money. I probably had maybe 2 cents in my bank account. And so I looked at my bank account, and it said $200, I think it's $73 or something like that, $253. And I'm like, where the fuck this shit come from? And so I'm like, I'm gonna buy me a pizza. I haven't had, I'm gonna buy me a pizza. But I was like, you know what? It might be a bill that didn't go through or whatever. But I'm like, I would love to buy me a pizza right now. I think my car was broke down at the time too. I need another battery or something. I don't know. So everything that could go wrong went wrong. So even I could say that I could probably say right now that anyway, I'm not gonna curse myself. I think I had a flat tire and the battery was messed up, and something else was wrong too. And I'm broke, and I'm like just hoping that this lottery ticket will just hit because of this the astrology that was shown. It sounds crazy as shit, but whatever. That was my life, and that is my life right now at the time. So I did everything right, and it's like, again, I'm back to that situation where even God himself can turn it. Even a God himself can turn on you. Think about Medusa and Athena. So I started $253 in my bank account, or $273, I forgot now. And so I said, I put my phone down. I'm like, whatever. Maybe I'm just going crazy, because I'm like, whatever. So instead of walking back and forth inside the house, I go outside and I start walking back and forth on the property. And I'm like, how in the hell is there $20 and something in my bank account? And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, wait, I applied for unemployment all the way back early this year. And I think I stopped applying because I was like, I'm not gonna get it. And so apparently I said that might be the unemployment. And I'm like, nah. And so I go and look at the unemployment system. And I'm like, it shows I'm gonna get a big check. And I'm like, I drop, I throw the phone on the floor. I'm mad. I'm mad. And I'm like, because I'm like, I was expecting to uh beat the lottery or something like that. I'm like, this ain't gonna do shit for me. Like in regards to like the future, like anyway, a career. This ain't gonna buy me a house. This ain't gonna buy me. My dream was to have like 5 cars in this house, this prepper house or whatever that's made of bricks, a, a metal roof, a thick metal roof that can't be they won't degrade over time, and solar panels and a well inside a house, like a German house or a Russian house or whatever, like a what do you call it, a bunker, one of those German house bunkers or whatever. They actually have wells in their house. Anyway, a solar array, and also have an outside, what do you call it? Not basically, it's inside of the house. What do you call this that thing? A sun a sun garden. What do you call it? Let me call it. Pause a second. Okay, so I think it's called a greenhouse, but instead of having having it like in the middle of the yard or somewhere else, I want it to be attached to the actual house. So it's like a glass garden, or what do you what I say glass now, but some kind of polyethylene, not, anyway, plastic maybe, that won't degrade over time, that surrounds the house, but inside the middle it's like a brick house, and inside of the dead center of that is like there's a well inside of it. Anyway, and then it's also a solar situation that's going on as well in regards to this house. Anyway, so that's what I was hoping to do with the if I would have beat the lottery or whatever. Anyway, so the check was uh, a a good amount of money in regards to just getting back on my feet, but like at that time, but it wasn't enough to just retire. I was trying to figure out a way to figure out how to retire. So anyway, um, what I stop at? Because I went on so many tangents. So that was age 29, right? No, that was age 30 because 2020, right? Anyway, that's everything continued to go downhill from there in regards to have been forced to stay on unemployment. If I could try to get a job or whatever, some crazy stuff would happen. Car breakdown, I would get sick. Uh, what else? Like the car breakdown. Anyway, so that's my Saturn return, and keep in mind, like I said, I have K2 inside of the 10th house. I have to learn to let go of in regards to status and career and my ego, because I have K2 inside of Leo, but K2 inside of the 10th house as well. And also have an 8th house moon, and with being a Libra rising, the moon rules the 10th house, and the 10th house goes. I mean, the moon goes inside of the 8th house. They say to die, so that means that my career is going to always be unstable. So I knew that ever since 2018, when I got serious about trying to figure out how to got serious about astrology and trying to figure out how to beat the lottery. Anyway, so that's most of my Saturn return. I think what I was trying to what I forgot to say in regards to all the way back to 2012 or whatever. There was so much stuff that happened regarding family drama as well. There was at one point in time in 2012, no 2011. My grandfather, he ended up getting kidnapped, and possibly he ended up by some other family members or whatever, and his girlfriend, and he probably signed some paperwork that messed up a lot of things in regards to the family. I get maybe his will, maybe his will. So there was so much stuff that went on, and today I just found out that transit Saturn was transiting the sign Libra at the time, and that was 2010, 2011, 2012, I believe, or around that time. However, right now, transit Saturn is about to enter Aries, and understand that Libra is opposite the sign Aries. So right now, I'm dealing with another relative right now. However, I had major losses around that time in regards to my side of the family. And now it seems like on their side of the family, there's some stuff that's going on. However, they're messing with me too, in regards to this family situation that's going on right now that has me kind of like. So anyway, so that was most of my Saturn return. Um, the reason why I'm going to make this post is because pretty much a lot of people talk about oh the mystical aspects of Saturn, and oh my God, Saturn just it's the this and this and that. I'm the type of person that wants results. I want concrete results. I want to know exactly what goes on. I don't want some mystical bullshit. And so, and there's some people that say that they love Saturn. They love the planet Saturn because it's like it's the something. Saturn is a malefic. When you learn how Saturn works, you will see why um a lot of people are terrified of Saturn and its in its aspects. Um, why I believe in Indian astrology they tell people that Sati Sati is like one of the worst period of times of a person's life. Ashtama Sati is one of the worst periods of a person's life. And anyway, you know what? Those that's. Let me pause a second. Okay, so that's just using big words. The thing about it is that big words are just big words. What happens? So what are the results? What? That's what I like. And what? Anyway, Sati Sati is when transit Saturn transits 12 houses from the moon, and I believe also conjoins your natal moon. And so what happens is that people tend to have a lot of losses, emotional losses around that time. Ashtami Sati, that's when transit Saturn transits 8 houses from your moon. And people can have like a lot of emotional ups and downs. It's not just depression, it's like crazy shit happens. Crazy shit happens. And I was going through Ashtami Sati, where transit Saturn was transiting 8 houses from a moon when my best friend committed suicide all the way back in 2017. Also, I lost my job. Also went through this period of like being stuck on unemployment when I was used to being at work. I used to work for fun and just make money and just buy trinkets. And at that point in time, it's like I couldn't do anything. I was stuck. And then there's one more. I forgot the exact name of this, but it's when transit Saturn is transiting 6 houses from your natal moon. And this is when you can deal with health problems. And so all the way back in 2012, that's when transit Saturn was transiting 6 houses from my moon, and that's when I got sick in regards to this situation. And doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I took all kinds of tests, all kinds of them. I took all kinds of tests, and they said we can't find anything. And the sickness only went away after when transit Saturn left my 6th house from the moon. So this stuff is very real. Anyway, so back to Mary Magdalene and her at age 20, around age 21, 22, she began having surgeries. That should have been around the time of her Saturn square. And so I think that Mary Magdalene, she ended up committing suicide around the time of her Saturn return. And that, I want to just leave it at that. And then the movie that she referenced, it probably had a serious impact on her, was the Truman Show. It's because pretty much every instance of that happened to True. Let me pause for a second to get his exact name. So everything that happened to Truman Burbank, played by Jim Carrey, in the Truman Show, that's kind of what it feels like when Saturn is making these aspects inside your chart, the Saturn square, the Saturn return. It feels like you want to do something so bad. See, I think Truman Burbank, he wanted to go to Fiji or something like that. And every time he tried to leave, he couldn't because he kept getting blocked. And he was stuck inside of this Truman Show. And like, yeah, he was just stuck there. And he was forced to do he was forced to just live by the means of what the creator wanted. Let me pause a second. But inside on his artificial set that was run by his creator, Christoph, he was forced to do what he was forced to be the center of this situation on this show. And so when people say or talk about the simulation theory or whatever, yeah, I can understand if you don't know astrology, or if you think that if you don't believe in fate, you can be like, oh my. There's some people that say that they take LSD or these drugs, and they're so high, and they're like, they see people doing things, and they're like, you're part of the simulation. You're I've seen you do this before, or you're just a robot, or you're what do they call it, NPC or something like that. It's understandable because when you know astrology and you see things as fated, that you but however, knowing astrology, you will see that it is fate. You can't change it. All you can do is just go along with hope for the best and just keep on going along with the situation. And that sounds crazy as shit, I know. But after seeing what I've seen, yeah. Cycles. Being able to predict a specific outcome. And it's not like you predict an outcome, but it's not exact. And the thing about it is that astrology is just one small, it uses just a few planets. Imagine if you could understand every object in space and its influence on this planet or your being or yourself. And I'll just leave it at that because it sounds crazy and it's like, yeah, I don't really care to. Yeah, it's so much. So that's maybe being on drugs or something like that, being high as hell or whatever. It puts you inside of a state where you're more aware of like the small synchronicities that are going on, where you're like you don't understand it because you don't have the formula to follow it. If that makes sense. And so astrology is probably a baseline formula of what's really going on, but it sounds crazy. Anyway, cycles exist. Look at the sun. The sun goes up and comes down. The moon goes up and comes down. We're able to predict eclipses, right? We're able to predict new moon, the moon cycle. And so, why wouldn't astrology work or whatever? We have summer, winter, spring, and fall. Right. Well, winter, spring, summer, fall. That's a cycle. Anyway, what was my point? Am I missing anything? Hopefully, I don't sound too crazy. Hopefully, this helps somebody out in regards to navigating their Saturn return. In regards to the end of a Saturn return, I was watching a Vedic astrologer. He basically said that the effects of a Saturn return tends to wane around the age of 35, and I can only imagine that that's around the time of a person's Jupiter return. But I'm not sure. I'm still just going through it. I have not broken through it yet. Hopefully, by when I turn age 36, if I turn age 36, who knows? The CIA or aliens might kidnap me. Oh my god, this sounds crazy as shit. I don't really care at this point. I'm broke, so make it interesting. But that sounds crazy. But Yeah, I think it's gonna be it for me. I'll probably stop at this at 1:33. 33. Let me pause a second. Okay. Let's see. Let me try to get a little more personal then. So, let's see here. Around November, all right? Was it? It was November 10th, 2020. 5. Pretty much, I told you that I'm dealing with family drama right now. So all the way back in 2012, right? I was in my Rahu Jupiter Dasha. And so Rahu main Dasha, Jupiter sub Dasha. And so this is around the time my grandfather he passed away, but also I was dealing with a lot of crazy family drama. And so keep in mind, so that's Jupiter. So like I said, during this period of time, my grandfather was kidnapped, and keep in mind his mind was gone, and by other relatives or whatever, and his girlfriend apparently, and then my maybe forced signs and stuff. I don't know. Also, we was going back and forth to hospitals and court hearings and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so now on November 10th, 2025, my Rahu main dasha has shifted to now it's Jupiter dasha. And so on the exact date, November 10th, 2025, a relative came to the property and basically got in my face and was trying to fight me because they was trying because I told another relative that pretty much there was some stuff that was going that was pause. So we were having a family meeting, and I told uh another relative that um this other property or whatever was separate from the property that was being disputed. And so the relative who was trying to do whatever they was trying to do, they got in my face and they was trying to fight me, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna I don't I'll put it like this. I don't make threats. So things could have gotten out of hand, but they didn't. Like I said, as I said in several videos, I should be inside a jail or hell right now. Anyway, so that situation came up, and this is just the beginning of my Jupiter dasha. I mean, I'm talking about just cycles. And so anyway, so recently, that same relative, I tried to tell this person that I make videos in certain areas of the property, and I guess that they're upset with me, or they're trying to use legal a legal they're trying to weaponize the legal system against me. And so me being, you can, maybe I'm just crazy, maybe you can call me partially psychic, I don't know, but there's a situation. I want to say this, I'm gonna sound crazy. Let me pause a second. So sometimes I can just feel the energy where I'm at. And so I felt this energy one of these days or whatever. Well, anyway. So so anyway, I felt some kind of energy, and so I texted another relative, and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I'm about to do this." And so I'm walking the property like I normally do, and so I run into the relative that got into my face and was trying to fight me. They was doing some stuff in the far back where you couldn't see them, and so I ran into them. And I said to them, I was like, "Oh, sorry for the last time we met, but I make videos back here, so that's all. I just want to let you know I do that." And so next thing you know, cops are here. You're trespassing. I'm like, I've been here. I lived here for most of my life, all of my life, honestly. And this person hasn't been here a day in their life. And they're like, "Well, do you know that if we catch you back there again, we're gonna charge you for trespass?" I'm like, I got a text message right here. because I sent this text message to this person because the wind started blowing a certain way, and I was like, I felt that something told me like, do this right now, and I'm like, okay, well, and so luckily I did that, and so I'm like, police officer, text message right here, and they're like, oh well, I said I've been living here for